Welcome everyone to the 7th episode of QCast. I am your host, Glory, and I am joined today by the entire group. I'm joined with Pengo1998, who decided to stay up. Pengo, how you doing?
Yeah.
He's a little bit butthurt that we're doing 2 episodes today. He didn't know about that. And also, I'm joined with Rocky and Cringey Buttclenchean from Buttclenchean LTD. Guys, how you doing? You doing good?
Piss off. Yes.
Yeah, okay. Anyways, so this is going to be the first of 2 episodes we are doing today. Mainly because I wanted to get a lot of content in this weekend because there was a lot of content that came out. The DevDiary, which we are going to be analyzing in this episode, and also Terrain Union's live stream, this whole thing with TVR and everything, which is what it's going to be, which is the points of discussion for the next live stream. This first live stream will be all about the DevDiary, and then the next live stream will take place at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. So I accidentally screwed up the times for our European friends, so I apologize. It's going to be at 8 p.m. UK time and 9 p.m. Central European Standard Time. I think that's what CEST stands for, right?
I think so.
Okay.
I've got no idea. I hate the Europeans in some ways.
Well, you guys are closer to Europe than we are, so you know.
We're not Europeans.
You're British, all right?
What else?
Anyways, so I accidentally screwed up the times. I thought it was at 9 o'clock and 10 o'clock respectively, and I was like, well, shit. But yeah, and also 12 p.m. Pacific for all you idiots out in the West Coast. We love you, but you're weird. All right, so without further ado, we'll get into the content. As most of you probably already know, and if not, I really question why you're watching this and not following Dual Universe. They released their DevDiary last Wednesday. We are going to go through it. First of all, like we did last time, I'm going to play it in full, and then we are going to go through and analyze everything part by part, and we'll go on from there. And at the end, we'll give our opinions and talk about some other things, like, for example, like forum posts made by Nomad, talk about alpha and crowdfunding and founder packs and everything like that, and also the Kickstarter update that they released. So, without further ado, I will get this thing started, and yeah, enjoy.
Hi guys, welcome to our June Dual Universe Update Diary. Polish is the keyword this month, and we're making good progress. However, let me stress here again that the alpha will not be the full game, but a preview of some selected gameplay. It will be updated over time with more features and fixes as the team progresses on its roadmap and with your feedback. That being said, let's have a look at this month's content. We have kept improving the building experience. Besides the cube, sphere and wedge, we've added some new 3D brush shapes to help you build amazing structures. You can now deploy a cylinder, which can of course be stretched, or a pyramid-shaped corner, which can be oriented in any way you want. One particular challenge we found out through our testing comes from the difficulty of placing voxels in thin air or along a given axis. So, when you perform a copy operation or any kind of voxel deploying operation, we have developed a way to lock it onto a 2D plane and then use the mouse to control the remaining axis. You can see it here in action as I'm building a corridor by copy-pasting a basic section of it. On the physics side, we worked on decoupling the construct physics from the player attachment, which means that you can now control a ship at a distance using the remote controller element. This can be very useful, for example, to visually assess a maneuver that you have just programmed into your ship control unit. Many things that seem obvious in the real world need to be programmed explicitly in a virtual world. For example, when you release a remotely controlled ship, It used to stop moving right away, but now it continues its flight and actually falls on the ground if it's bound by gravity. Finally, let's consider this huge flying construct. If we take a player walking on top of it while it's moving, and that player then jumps off it, or he ejects from his cockpit, for example, this player now falls and keeps his momentum shortly following the ship's trajectory as it gets away from it. There's a lot of frame reference swapping magic going on there, so again, it may seem natural, but it doesn't come for free. As always, the server team is working hard, testing the cluster. Here, you can see about 1,000 simulated players moving randomly. We have also been simulating dynamic constructs, here about 100 of them, flying around the ArcShip. Note that constructs are more demanding than players to process because we need to load the voxel information for each of them. Like every month, our arts team has been busy fleshing out new elements and concept arts. Among them, some new decorative elements to bring you more variety when building your particular ship or outpost interior. That's all for now. Until next time, thanks again for watching and thanks for your amazing support. Don't hesitate to subscribe to our channel and to share this video with your friends. See you soon in Dual Universe.
Okay, so basically, as that was going through, what were you guys, Pengo, Cringey, what were you guys saying about me now? What were you guys, what was going on? Guys, hello? Okay, anyone?
Yeah, I'm here.
Read it.
What?
Read it on the chat.
Well, yeah, I'm looking. Are you saying that my volume's too low on the video?
Yeah, it is.
Shit. Well, the thing is that, okay, it's, yeah, okay, hold on, I'll try and fix that. I apologize. The problem is that the mix amp for my headphones amplifies the volume a little bit, so, well, by a little bit I mean a lot. So the problem is that if I make it the volume any higher on the YouTube video, it's gonna like blast through my ears. So, alright, I'll try and fix it though. Maybe if I turn this down a little bit, and then I'll turn up the volume. We'll try halfway and see if that fixes it. Okay, but regardless, a lot to analyze in that. So we're gonna go through everything from the start. And we're already doing better, in my opinion, than the last DevDiary analysis we did, because I remembered to unmute myself from. I remembered to unmute my mic, so I'm talking now. I feel happy with myself that I fixed my mistake. But yeah, we're gonna go through from the very start, analyze every part of it, and then we'll kind of, at the end, give our own opinions on the entire thing in general and move on. So, hopefully half volume works a little bit better. Not, then I'll try and fix it even more. So, alright.
Hi guys, welcome to our June Dual Universe Update Diary. Polish is the keyword this month, and we're making good progress. However, let me stress here again that the alpha will not be the full game, but a preview of some selected gameplay. It will be updated over time with more features and fixes as the team progresses on its roadmap, and with your feedback. That being said, let's have a look at this month's content. We have kept improving the building experience. Besides the cube, sphere...
Shit, I was talking with these guys and I fucking forgot to pause it. I apologize. So the first part is, of course, as usual, our Lord and Savior JC Bailly gives his normal overview for the DevDiary this month. was interesting how he talked about the alpha a little bit, since they talked a little bit about the alpha news in this forum post. Alpha will more than likely be released sometime after September 7th, since crowdfunding will end. Well, the first part of the crowdfunding will end September 7th of this year, and there will be 2 alphas. Polish. The people are making something shine. Yes. All right, but there'll be 2 alphas. The first alpha will be only for the founders who have backed. That will be basically kind of with a lot of bug fixes. It'll be kind of not a full game, which, I mean, I don't think anyone really expected it to be a full game. And they will add in things as time moves along, as like the team progresses, right? I think I got that right.
Yeah, I think so.
Oh god, now I can barely hear you guys. See, this is why. Oh god, hold on. I need to turn my Nexion back up, and I'll just turn it back down when. Okay, try talking now. You guys, hold on.
Hello.
Okay, yeah, better now. I'll just have to remember to turn that down so my ears don't fucking get raped when I listen to the next part of the DevDiary. So it's interesting to kind of talk, and the second alpha, of course, will be for the supporters and for the founders, because they'll be adding in new supporter packs in replacement of the. There's only 1 alpha. No, there's 2. There's 2 now. Hold on. See, alpha access to alpha 1. Where'd they discuss these 2 alphas?
I'm really curious to see if we'll have like 2 sort of titles, like, you know, the founders. Like, since I have a founder title, if I upgrade into where we get a supporter title, if I'll still show both of them, or if it'll only show the supporter title.
Yeah.
So an alpha, isn't it basically sort of a completely incomplete game that sort of
Yeah.
people are just testing out? Beta
That's the
is
first alpha.
it's something that can be seen as a game, but it isn't fully complete yet. The devs aren't happy with it, and then the full game is they're happy with it, but they might expand on it.
Oh, Alpha Team Vanguard has Alpha 4, Alpha 2. Is that Oh, he retracted that. I guess he didn't. I guess that he didn't want that to be known. But too bad, we saw it. Even if it's for a short amount of time. That's interesting because there was kind of. I personally thought that was going to happen, but like for a while, I think people were like, you know, saying that it wasn't, and it was just kind of like a rank thing. But to hear that that's now actually going to be a thing, if Kurok, you're being serious on that. That's I think that's personally a good thing for the Alpha Team Vanguards. I think getting it like a week or 2 ahead of time, I think is, I don't know, good reward for that. Shut up and man your glory hole, from the same guy that told me that there was only 1 alpha. To be honest, I think I know who that is, but never mind. Okay, so but yes, there will be 2 alphas. The second one will be a little bit more, I don't know, we'll have a lot of features. It'll be a little bit more, there'll be more substance.
Feature complete.
Feature complete, yes. But we'll go through this forum post a little bit later on. So, yeah, I think that was all to discuss. But I think JC did the right thing by saying that Alpha is going to be incomplete with a lot of bugs and everything like that, because, you know, he's setting the bar low. You know, I think that was the right thing to do. People, I think, will think that this is just a Steam, like almost like a Steam early access game, and it's really not. It's going to be an alpha. It's just going to be, there's going to be a lot of things, and it's just going to be to test. It's not going to be like to play and everything like that. It's not going to be, I don't know, what Steam early access games are there right now? There's PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. There's that's kind of right. Dexio. Alpha is equal to tech demo. Yeah, I kind of agree with that. It'll be a little bit more than a tech demo. Like I remember, they like during the first the first video that they ever did, the live gameplay, that Dual Universe said, that was basically the alpha tech demo. This will be a little bit more than that, but it's basically just going to be, an incomplete game. I think most of us realize that, and that's a good thing. Okay. Let's move onward. Shelf. All right.
We have kept improving the building experience. Besides the cube, sphere, and wedge, we've added some new 3D brush shapes to help you build amazing structures. You can now deploy a cylinder, which can of course be stretched, or a pyramid-shaped corner, which can be oriented in any way you want. One particular challenge we found out through our testing comes from the difficulty of placing voxels in thin air or along a given axis. So when you perform a copy operation or any kind of voxel deploying operation, we have developed a way to lock it onto a 2D plane and then use the mouse to control the remaining axis. You can see it here in action as I'm building a corridor by copy-pasting a basic section of it.
Okay, so that first part was talking all about building. First they show off some new, hold on. There we go. They show off some new, like things that you can build. They show off a cylinder, and they show off a corner block, pyramid-shaped corner block. What do you guys think on it?
This sort of shows that they are definitely advancing in sort of what we can use to create ships and buildings within the game.
Oh yeah.
It definitely does expand the possibilities, but one thing that it does show is you being able to resize the actual blocks, which will be helpful for building. So I can use the small ones to do more detail, yet if you if you do the larger ones, if it's just blank for quite a while, so you don't have to spend ages just doing it long. So it would make building a lot easier.
I'd really like to see maybe the ability to have sort of custom shapes, or at least, variations of some of the shapes to be a bit more custom. So for instance, take the cube and instead maybe extrude it in a certain axis. So this way you have, say, a 5-block long axis along the x-axis. This way you can place long sections of it quicker instead of having to place it 1 block at a time.
Yeah, they showed that in a previous video.
Oh yeah, that's right, they did. Ignore me.
When do we not ignore you?
Well,
don't worry, Pengo, we love you. But anyways, one thing that I personally like, I think, just take a step back to kind of realize the graphics. The graphical improvements that they have made since they first started these DevDiaries are really nice, in my opinion. I know it's kind of like just a, kind of irrelevant, well, not irrelevant thing, but it's been seen like that before. But I just always kind of admire the fact that they've come so far in about a year, in terms of graphics alone. It's awesome, Okay, I'll continue talking.
Moving on.
Moving on to the copying section that they did.
Yeah, they did. They were talking about the copy and pasting in thin air and saying how much of a challenge that can be. And if you you can. Hold on, let me see. So like you can, if you do it on a you do it free, kind of like freehand almost. It's kind of, I don't know how, there's a better word for that. But if you do it freehand, it can be challenging on the like on a certain axis, like in terms of doing that kind of thing. So it's nice that they added in a feature where you can kind of lock it to an axis and then do the other axis. It's good, What do you guys think about it?
Yeah, And it was one thing that I was wondering about in between the dev diaries, ever since they showed off the copy and paste tool that they'd introduced.
Mm-hmm.
Just wondering how this sort of stuff would work, but I think they've done a really nice job of implementing it.
Yeah. And also, I think for the more complicated designs, like, we have, like, any ships that are being made, if you make, like, one wing, it'd be really nice, just to copy and paste it onto the other side.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this will make building in the game a lot easier.
Oh, yeah. I agree with that. What do you think about it, Pengo? Building a lot easier in the game? That's kind of a given, but...
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Alright. I think that's about it for this section. Just go to the... Okay. So yeah, anything more to add on that before we move on to the ship part of it?
No, I think we're done with this part.
Okay, now moving
yeah.
on... Oh, well, okay. Moving on to ships now.
On the physics side, we worked on decoupling the construct physics from the player attachment, which means that you can now control a ship at a distance using the remote controller element. This can be very useful, for example, to visually assess a maneuver that you have just programmed into your ship control unit. Many things that seem obvious in the real world need to be programmed explicitly in a virtual world. For example, when you release a remotely controlled ship, it used to stop moving right away. But now it continues its flight and actually falls on the ground if it's bound by gravity. Finally, let's consider this huge flying construct. If we take a player walking on top of it while it's moving, and that player then jumps off it, or he ejects from his cockpit, for example, this player now falls and keeps his momentum shortly following the ship's trajectory as it gets away from it. There's a lot of frame reference swapping magic going on there, so again, it may seem natural, but it doesn't come for free.
Okay, so a couple things right there. First of all, I want your opinions on the whole thing with being able to remotely fly the ship. What are your guys? You guys like it? Don't like it?
In some ways, it is a very good idea. In some ways, it's not. It will be harder to control, but there are some things in real life that you can remote control to do jobs.
Mm-hmm.
For example, there's one thing that I saw on Top Gear, them using something to knock down a building. That, because there was one point they couldn't go any further with them in it, so they got out of remote control to finish off the job, and it worked fine.
Well, my opinion on it is that the remote control feature will be very useful, not only for like building your ship, but it could also have major implications in like battles, for example. Say you're like in the middle of a firefight, correct? And you need some major firepower. And of course, keep in mind that this is just my idea, and I don't know if this will actually be in the game itself, but just imagine someone can like call in their ship from a distance and just have it come in and, give them fire support. Now, of course, I think this remote control feature will have will be a little bit restricted in that kind of sense. Mainly because they've said before that they don't want to take away like jobs.
They want
players.
everything to be done by players, pretty much.
Yeah. They might have it in more of like, and also I think this remote control feature will be very limited in the range. One, because of server stuff, and two, because calling your server from like half a planet away, it's like
I see it being extremely useful. I don't think we're going to see it be practical for in a combat situation unless it's very short range and you're just remote controlling it from the ground as like a quick temporary fire support. Of course, you'd have to be complete control, so you'd have to be pretty much right next to it anyways. I see it more as useful as a testing without having to get into it and get out of it and mess with it.
Mm-hmm. But also,
you can
like,
just test it without having. Can I finish?
Sorry.
Instead of having to get in and out of it
No, you
constantly to test to see if it's behaving properly. You could use it sort of a way to test its maneuverability and such before you have to deal with anything.
Yeah. Another thing that I think it could be used for in combat is, like, say you need to, like, get out of there really quickly. If your ship is nearby, but you're kind of, like, you really can't move anywhere, you could, like, call it in and just kind of, like, get out, like, quickly get in and get the hell out of there. That would be another thing that I think.
Have it come to you a short distance just so you can get out of there.
Yeah.
Leave cover to get to it.
A quicker retreat.
You can also sort of use this for sort of war sort of stuff. Like you can get off your ship and have it kamikaze into another ship.
Kamikazes, I don't think will be a big thing.
No,
They've
they're
said
not
that
ship
before.
collision.
Like they don't want to like collision. I think I know people are thinking that collision damage is going to be more things, but I think they haven't changed their idea on the fact that it's just going to be a bump, at least for I think the initial release. They might change that later on, but I still think that it's going to be a bump, and I think that's kind of the better thing to do. One, because it does cause extra stress on the servers, and two, also the fact that for gameplay reasons, you don't just want someone to kamikaze you. It's just like, no, it's like that.
Yeah, but at the same, I would like to see collision damage. But maybe at the very least, if they're worried about the people just coming in and ramming for no reason, other than because they can, or making stupid little ships just to ram. Maybe have it be the ship that is doing, maybe it be sort of like a special kind of like ability where you have to be below a certain level of damage of your overall ship, so you have to be low health, so it has to be like a true last ditch effort.
Maybe.
But the main point I'm making for this is sort of the militaries to maybe do it. If their ships may be really destroyed, then they can just get off them and have it ram stuff.
There's a special block that you have to create, and you have to have it on the front of your ship to be able to ram without, taking damage, stuff like that.
And also have the system in where if you're literally just using this to annoy players, then you could get banned from Dual Universe.
Banning for it would be very unlikely to be seen, because you'd basically just be using the game mechanics. You wouldn't be really exploiting or anything. And if they started banning people for stuff like that, you would have some problems with other stuff because of, if you just randomly get banned because you're using built-in game mechanics that were intentionally put there, I mean, that's just kind of an abuse of the ability to ban.
Yeah.
You can't ban people for using the game for what's implemented in legitimately in there and make, random stupid rules like that in a sandbox game like this. It just won't go over well.
Yeah.
You either implement it and let them use it however they want, or you don't implement it at all.
Yeah. It's a balance. You got to figure out what's good and, what's, could break the game.
As much as I'd love to be able to ram stuff in a last-ditch effort.
Yeah, I think ramming stuff I'm just looking at chat for a second. It's funny. Gonna love all the stuff that's being talked about in our chat. From Yugoslav dictators to freaking glory holes. It's amazing. It's great. Anyways, all right. The next part of that is the talking about where they have the large ship. They have the player that ran off the large ship. What do you guys think about that with the physics? You guys like the physics? You guys think it's like,
If they didn't add that to it, I'd be very concerned.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you should have the ability to jump off your ships, but I think you need special armor so if you hit the ground, you don't take fall damage, because I do think that fall damage should be in this game.
I'm sure it will be. I just think they're probably in a god mode right at the moment, just, for recording purposes. I'm
sure that I did jetpacks or parachutes or whatever, so it breaks your fall.
Yeah. one thing that makes me really happy is that they never really showed on their YouTube channel that you can walk around on these large ships. Like a lot of people, especially in the beginning, were like thinking like, oh, you won't be able to walk around on these large ships or anything like that while they're flying. You'd have to be sitting down and stuff like that. They showed off, I think they showed off in like, you know, one of the like gaming magazines, but they aren't magazines, but you know what I mean, like gaming companies that like kind of do reports on like a bunch of games and everything like that. They showed off video of that. What were you saying, Rocky? I kind of interrupted you. I'm sorry.
I know, I was just agreeing with you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's one thing that the creators of Space Engineers, I don't know, may create it, that need to add in, because if you don't sit down whilst the ship is moving, you do get flung off backwards, which is very annoying if you're nowhere near the seats.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They, like I said, they showed off people walking around on the larger constructs that were flying. However, they never showed it off on their actual YouTube channel. So I think showing off that a ship is flying and people are walking on it, well, that a person is walking on it, even though he's not sitting down or anything, I think that kind of quells some of those fears, and I think that they're lying, and I'm really glad that they showed that. You know, it makes me happy they showed that off and everything like that. You know, yeah. Anything else to add on that before we go on to server talk?
Not from me, no.
Okay. Let's move onward. We go to the correct place. There we go. Right here. Okay. Let me mute myself.
As always, the server team is working hard, testing the cluster. Here, you can see about 1,000 simulated players moving randomly. We have also been simulating dynamic constructs, here about 100 of them, flying around the Arcship. Note that constructs are more demanding than players to process because we need to load the voxel information for each of them. Like every
Okay, so they showed off some more of the server clusters and everything at the beginning. Wait, I went too far. There we go. They show the fact that they're putting their servers to limits. Definitely with the 1,000 simulated players. That makes me happy that they're showing off, you know, stuff like that. One thing that I'm going to talk about after we kind of finish talking about the DevDiary, like in general, I'm going to bring up something that I saw earlier this week that I found kind of interesting. I personally like the fact that they show off the fact that it's kind of laggy in their server, or possibly it's just a frame rate issue or something like that. I personally like that because of the fact that it shows that they're not like it shows that they're being honest and showing that, you know, what that how much stress it can go under. In, you know, I think having 1,000 players kind of in this small general area, I think is personally a good thing. That it can take that much stress and, you know, still run. Granted, not maybe the best, but can still run. You know.
See, I think it looked more like it was frame rate, which could just be the computer that they were showing it on. It may not have been the strongest that they had. Because wasn't there someone who was commenting, complaining that, oh, it looks like that they're not doing anything and they're not actually trying or something like that?
I'm not sure. I'm looking at if they have a frame rate counter on this part that they have here. No, it doesn't look like they do, unfortunately. One thing that I think me and Penguin were kind of talking about this one night. One thing that I think Nova Quark should do during these these server tests, like during these scenes, would be to include a frame rate counter. So we would know if it's either a frame rate issue or something with the server itself. I personally think that would kind of be good idea. And Penguin, I think you were the one who kind of came up with it. They included
Yeah,
frame rate
well,
counter.
I'd like to see, like, whenever they show stuff like that, like maybe include the specs of the computer that they were showing it on, as well as the frame rate counter. This way, it kind of gives people a good idea of what the performance is, because I mean, they didn't exactly look like it was. I mean, you think about it, you're probably not going to see that many players in one small area, because if you look at it, there was quite. I mean, I think those like 1,000 players were not all on screen, but I think a majority of them were, or at least a very large number of them. Even if it was only like 20% of that, that's still like 200 players.
Yeah. And
Simulated
same goes
players,
for
so.
the ships, like flying around the arch. I don't think you're going to have that congested.
Yeah, not unless, well, you might see something like that if there becomes a major, like a, major trade hub somewhere where everyone goes to sell.
Yeah, but I don't think you're going to see them, like, specifically doing that. I don't, personally, I just think that that's kind of an extreme situation. It's going to be rare to see something like that. Also, someone just said in the chat, this is another good thing to bring up. They don't have a full. More than likely this is just this is still the test server that they were talking about, and they still don't have the full server that will be in the game. They still don't have that set up.
The thing about this is when it was showing the ship part, I didn't see much lag at all. It was on the player thing as I saw all of the lag, and then on the ship one, it looked really smooth.
It looked relatively smooth for what was, shown for like a couple hundred ships, flying around. Well, for 100, I think it was relatively smooth. Just moving on to that portion of things. So, anything else on the server before we move on? We're gonna come back to the server because of the thing that I want to mention. But anything else,
Nope.
Okay.
No.
So, lastly, the art team, of course, more concept art. That's always good. So this is a control board. I'm guessing it can be used to control things.
Perceptive viewer.
Very perceptive.
Very in depth. But I remember in a Twitter picture, JC actually kind of had a thing saying, let me try and find the tweet, talking about the control board and everything like that. See if I can find it quickly. But it had the control board in the actual picture. I'm looking on my phone quickly. Hold on. I will pull it up on my PC, but yeah, here we go. Yeah, there it is. JC said early morning debugging in dual universe, and so here's what JC said about the board. It's a programming board. You can plug other elements in it and use it to script them in Lua, but the mesh itself is not interactive. Cinderfall, the Cinderfall official Twitter, asked them if the board was interactive, and but that'd be cool if they do add in an interactiveness to the board later on.
Yeah, I'd love to see maybe there be a few buttons on it at the very least, just so this way you could have controls sort of like built into it. Since it's going to be like the programming block, so basically that would be what's running the code if it could use those blocks or those buttons in the code to activate certain events or something. It could be extremely useful. Although I'm sure you could probably just connect in some sort of other panel with a button and do it if you really needed to, but it'd be cooler just to have it condensed down into having 4 buttons on the one panel, so you could just trigger different things with one panel and not have to have a separate panel for everything.
Yeah, I personally love the look of it, though. I think that they can really kind of, they have a few switches on it and everything like that. I'll be interested to see what elements you could kind of plug into it. I'm guessing, you remember in the first the first live gameplay that they did, they showed off inside that giant space station, they had giant screens kind of representing what was, some things about the space station, even though they were just kind of placeholder meshes at the moment. It'd be cool if you could plug this control board into it and kind of program those, screens and stuff like that, or maybe the holograms that we're gonna get to. Anyways, I don't know. I just feel like that'd be kind of cool,
Yeah, I'm really curious to what we're going to be able to control with the programming. If we can, maybe control chips to an extent with it, that'd be awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, it would take probably a very long, complicated program to properly control a ship to be useful. Even that's not even including combat. That's just, basic maneuvering.
Mm-hmm.
But it would still be useful.
Yeah. Okay, the next thing, we have a factory element. I don't know what they have a few things I think that they said would technically belong in the factory, but this looks more like an assembler kind of thing. At least, more maybe on a smaller scale, but it might be in charge of doing certain things. They have the storage compartment on the part. That charger? I can't tell on the front. It looks like
that's
yeah. Wait, what did you guys say? I kind of.
It does say charger.
Oh, it does say charger. Okay. So yeah, I like the look of it. Looks cool. I mean, what do you guys think it would be used for? This factory unit. This factory.
It looks like some form of 3D printer.
Yeah.
Yeah, he also could be used sort of maybe a hologram projector.
Possibly. Maybe to project a blueprint.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, because it kind of looks like it has sort of a camera on the floating bit on top.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Next thing, they have a nightstand. It's always useful. So this looks like a really cool nightstand. They got a little drawer in front. This would be again something really cool if it was interactive. They have those buttons. I think someone talked about what it could be in terms of what those things could mean, everything like that. I would go and find the message, but I'm too lazy to go and find it. But I know they were talking about calories burned while sleeping, amount of time sleeping, stuff like that. So I think that would kind of be cool. Gotta have some.
I would like to see it. So you could hook it up to different interactive things. So you could turn off the lights with it, lock the door, see things like that.
Yeah, that'd be cool. One person in the chat said, "Gotta have somewhere to keep your gun while you're sleeping." I can already guess who that is, but I'm guessing that's Bernard from Chuckling Casket. Am I correct on that? Please tell me I'm correct on that, because if I would be, that explains so much. But anyways, I don't know. I like the look of the nightstand. I think along with the sofa, they'll go very well together. Yep, I was right. Yes, it is Bernard. I expected it to be Bernard. Okay. Anyways, moving onward. The next thing, they showed off holograms. They look really fucking sick, in my opinion. They have an engine, a planet, a gun, and I think a ship. Looks like a ship in the top right, maybe? I don't know.
I think they're all ships.
No.
No, yeah. One of them kind of looks like a gun.
Bottom right, center right is an engine. You can see in the back, it's an engine. That's.
But then again, at the front, it looks like that's a cockpit on it.
Nah, I think it's just an engine. It looks pretty similar to what was in there before. And then top left looks to be like a blueprint of a gun, in my opinion.
I don't know. It kind of looks more like it could be a ship or an engine or some other.
I think it looks like an engine.
Yeah, see, I don't really see where's the barrel at. I don't.
Top, the front 2 bits. I don't know.
I can see where the barrel would be, and I can see what you mean, but it's very unlikely.
Yeah, I don't know.
something like
Regardless, they're cool holograms. Regardless, whatever they're showing. I definitely would like to have an interactive hologram with the planet. I think that would kind of be cool. You could like kind of select certain like a territory tile and just kind of bring it up, like highlight it on the hologram, like have a giant hologram of the planet. That'd be kind of cool. Like
I think it'd be nice if the territories were like color coded, so you could set a certain color for a certain faction, so then you can see overall control of the planet. I think that'd be cool.
There's a lot of things in terms of interactiveness that you can do with these holograms, and I think that's really kind of cool. And then the last thing is this emergency unit. Now, I want your guys' opinions on it. What do you think this will be used for? Because I personally don't really have much of a fucking clue. I mean,
I don't know.
It's an emergency unit.
Maybe a healing platform?
A healing platform?
I mean, that's my best guess. That,
or it could be a store thing. Like it could be a first aid box, really.
To me, it looks like a button. So you press it, and it triggers like an emergency procedure that you've programmed.
That could be.
Yeah, at the top, that looks like the symbol that you press to turn on stuff and also off.
Yeah, it's more like a circle with an exclamation mark on it, but yeah.
Yeah, exclamation mark because you're panicking.
Cinderfall Syndicate in the chat. Glory. Like a giant hologram, you know? Yep. That's what I said. So, yeah, it looks like a button, so I'm assuming you press it and it does something. Just going out there on a limb.
It looks like some form of button to me.
Yeah, definitely in that center bit. I just don't know really what it would be used for, in my opinion. But
yeah, the name doesn't really give you much information.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, well, what do you do? Like, and then, I don't know. I'm sure we'll figure it out when the game actually comes out. It's a panic button, yes, of course. And then, of course, at the end, we have, again, our Lord and Savior, JC Bailly, giving us a thank you for watching and a thanks for all the supporters and everything like that. And say that we'll see you next month. So, what are your guys' opinions overall on the DevDiary?
Good.
Yeah, it was,
they could put more stuff in it, but I suppose stuff's starting to slow down for them. Possibly.
Well, keep in mind also, last month they said that you know, that this they're gonna focus less on new features and just kind of polishing the existing gameplay in preparation for alpha. That's what they said in May.
Yeah.
So, Bingo, what do you think about it?
I think it's a little disappointing they're going to focus less on features, considering that's usually basically all that alpha is adding features. I mean, definitely get rid of the major game-breaking bugs, but I still think they should be focusing heavily on features, getting the core features in there before they worry about really polishing it. Like, I get doing it to a point so it's at least playable for the initial alpha, but they still...
This does look like it is playable. I think they're happy with it for the alpha, which is why they're starting to polish it, the stuff that they notice. Then the alpha will be used for us to find out the stuff whilst they add in stuff.
Yeah. I think they realize that people really want to get into the game, so I think they're kind of realizing that, you know, they have to almost kind of put it out in September now because it looks like they're basically ready. So I think they just want to focus on, you know, kind of focusing on the whole thing like that.
Why CSY, and why did you have to put in part of the script of the beam OV?
Oh dear God. Anyways, so I want to go over one thing that that was said in the Cinderfall Syndicate Discord this week, right after DevDiary was released. Someone kind of I don't think someone was really kind of pleased with what was shown. I think they kind of thought it was a little lacking. I'm gonna go through and say exactly what they said, and there's a little bit of grammatical errors here, so I'm going to try and fix it. But yeah, and then we'll kind of discuss it because I think it's worth noting. Okay, so here's what they said. This was right after the video was released, so he's referring to the video during this thing. The video really looks like damage control, to be honest. They seem really insecure when they're insisting on small details and things that seem relatively close to the things they already have. Saying stuff like, guys, it's really hard, you know, because it seems natural in the real world, but we have to code it in the game. It's kind of frightening. Maybe it's just me. Here's what they added. 2 brush shapes, in parentheses. That's relatively close to what they already have. Also, look at 44 seconds, by the way. Graphical glitch. Yay. Locking copy onto a plane, in parentheses. Depending on what they have coded their copy paste, it could have been done in a couple hours. Decoupling the player physics from the ship, in parentheses. That one sounds easy, but they probably have to keep the ship loaded. While doing so makes it harder than it looks. Releasing a ship keeps its momentum. Once again, it's not really a groundbreaking feature, as the fact that they stop when a player leaves. Was probably hard-coded somewhere. They already had inertia before. Then player leaving a ship keeps its momentum, and then in parentheses he has IDEM. Is that like an abbreviation for something? Am I being really stupid here, or do you guys?
I've got no idea.
I don't know.
Do you know what? Do you know what countries he's from? I mean, it could be from France, which makes sense.
I don't know. I'm guessing it's probably another thing, like talking about like not groundbreaking. And then server team made tests, and the art team made 8 assets. That doesn't seem like a lot. In my opinion, they're having trouble upscaling their single shard technology and are working a huge deal on that. Or are working on something else than what they said in the DevDiary. Look at 245 and beyond. Either, 1, it's not real speed, but why wouldn't you show it at real speed? Or 2, it's laggy. And in that case, I would imagine them working pretty much exclusively on that, since they told us that they had the technology to deal with it. And they haven't even started voxel structure damage, collisions, and so on. So yeah, I feel like they're having some troubles. Thoughts? And then he also edited on later. Edit also pushing back the alpha, then making a separate alpha 1 and alpha 2 would tend to indicate that they're off schedule. So,
something being off schedule is not really that bad.
And I mean, also, I would say that having
going
an
off
alpha
schedule is usual for gaming. Also, it's very hard to keep schedules.
And also,
well, I mean, not only that. I mean, look at stuff like freaking Elite Dangerous and Star Citizen. Like, Elite Dangerous is pretty far off with its Horizons timeline, and then Star Citizen, well, they're still in alpha, and they've been that way for quite a while now.
Never come out.
Star Citizen, the permanent alpha game.
And also, remember how long it took for the full version, well, 1.0 of Kerbal Space Program to come out. It took forever.
There's also, too, the Diablo 3 was delayed a few times, I think, for like a few years, actually. So, I mean, delays is nothing new for gaming. I mean, it happens with just about every freaking game.
Yeah.
So the fact that he's complaining about delays and stuff is kind of okay. Guess what? Every game has delays. Get over it.
And also, in my opinion, having 2 separate alphas doesn't seem like you're off schedule. I just think you want to have 2 alphas. I mean,
yeah, I don't quite get the whole point of having 2 separate alphas. I mean, I guess if you want to slowly.
I think it's more or less just kind of like slowly adding pressure onto the servers.
Well, yeah, that's why you can kind of make sure this stuff works before you get a massive number of people on there, and then you start increasing it. But I mean, that would work better, though, if they took in an initial amount of people and then over time added in people instead of just doing we'll drop in this many people this time that buy in, and then we'll just suddenly drop in a whole bunch of other people like a couple months later. Like, it's not a slow ramp up or anything.
Yeah.
Well, there's one thing about it is when Planet Coaster was first in alpha, there had 3 different alphas up for it. There was one now was small, and they brought another one, then brought out a third one on Steam, then released a beta for a week, then they brought out the full version. Mm-hmm. It's not weird for them to have multiple alphas, and sometimes it can be useful for discovering and breaking stuff. For example, Planet Coaster, Frontier used it to find out what people wanted inside the game.
Yeah, like maybe take a month to kind of take away alpha and then kind of rework everything and, you know, kind of talk to the players, see what they felt needed to be added in, and then like a month or 2 after the original alpha gets pulled out, put out the second alpha for all the supporters to try then. I mean, I personally think that it's kind of I don't think that it's a bad idea, and I mean, I think it's honestly an okay idea. I don't have anything against it. But
back to Planet Coaster, I was in sort of the alpha for the whole way, and you did notice that if you said, I want this in it, and enough people said it, it would end up being in the next update. They really did listen to feedback, and I have a feeling that NovaQuark is going to do the exact same thing with us.
Yeah, well, see, I still don't see the whole point of having multiple. I mean, because at that point, if it's, that's most of what it is, you may as well just have it as one and just throw out updates instead of putting out one alpha and then, getting out that stuff. And not only that, too, like people who paid for alpha, now it's being split up into 2, so some people are going to have to wait. So it went from being, oh, well, if I get this one, I'm going to get an alpha, so as soon as it hits alpha, I'll be able to start playing. Well, now that's not the case because some people are going to have to wait.
Hey, Cringey, do you like Planet Coaster?
Yeah, that's a good game.
You were talking about it. Anyways, I don't know. I mean, to be honest, I don't see any problems with it, but Pango, I can kind of see your concerns with the whole thing. I don't think that's really that big of a deal. But in my opinion on the whole thing was what this guy said. I personally think that he really didn't pay attention to the beginning of May's DevDiary, because they said that they aren't going to add in a lot of new features. They're just going to work on polishing the existing gameplay in preparation for alpha. So I personally think that they did that pretty well. I mean, I don't think they really, they polished a lot of things, and I think that he kind of overreacted with what I think he was kind of expecting a little too much, to be honest. I love all the people from Cinderfall. There was a really heated argument from this thing, so they were so all the people from Cinderfall who were involved in the argument were like, "Oh my god, he doesn't pay attention to anything or anything like that." It's hilarious. But to be honest, I mean, I can kind of see his complaints with everything. I mean, but to be honest, I just don't agree with them really. Oh dear God. But anyways, so moving onward to the last part of it. Any more remarks on the whole DevDiary before we move on to the forum post and the forum post and the Kickstarter update? Anything?
Well, before we move on, the Exio, it's more like 2100 with Star Citizen. I have been waiting so long.
Star Citizen.
And I can't even play it because my freaking processor doesn't handle it.
I played Star Citizen during one of their free to try weekends, right? That they did.
Well,
and I didn't really like it, to be honest. I felt like the ship combat was a little too crazy for me.
Well, right now it's not fully. I mean, it's not exactly the greatest, partially because a lot of it's not in there yet, and especially when you probably played before even last time I played. so it's probably really not literally in there yet.
It was like August of last summer, August of last year.
Yeah, that would have been a year ago.
Yeah.
It's improved a bit since then, but I mean, you really have to have a decent computer to really play that one, though.
Well, I do. This was right when I got my 1080 and my new i7 6700K. So, I mean, I had good hardware. It's just, I just didn't like a lot of the mechanics with the space combat. I just felt like they were kind of meh.
Yeah, well, it follows a bit more of a realistic system. You're going to slow down faster if you actually turn your main thruster instead of just expecting RCS thruster to slow you down.
And also, I just didn't, I think it was a little tough with, I was not that good of a pilot, obviously, because I couldn't do any of the missions before I got shot down, so...
Well,
I don't know, it was just that confusing.
Basically, what you're also saying is we should not let you fly a fighter in dual universe either, then.
No, I'm a good pilot, it's just I didn't understand the mechanics. I kind of understood them at the end, because I kind of watched other people play, but still, it was just like, they were so weird to me. And also, I think it didn't help that it was that I had it stuck in first person, and I don't think there was a third person perspective with the ship, so that was a little tough for me. Kind of was a little weird.
Well, that's also a game though too that's supposed to be focused around first person stuff. It's not really meant for third person for combat and such. So because you lose a lot of the like UI and stuff that you get with the HUD from the ship.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm going to say one more thing before we move on to the forum post and the Kickstarter update. My opinion on this dev diary was the fact that, in my opinion, the two dev diaries leading up to this, so, Pango, I see you playing Avorian.
But I don't know what you're talking
about. My opinion for those two dev diaries were I thought they were a little lackluster. Personally, I thought they were kind of mediocre in what they showed off in terms of what April and May brought for them. I thought this one was a lot better, to be completely honest. I felt it looked a lot cooler, and I liked it a lot more than the May and April dev diary updates. So I think this one was really good, in my personal opinion. So yeah, moving onward to the forum post and later on the Kickstarter update. We'll go over these very quickly. Basically, end of founder packs, crowdfunding, Portal Evolution, and Alpha News. I would go through and read this entire thing, but I don't want to. I'm too tired to do that. So I'll give you a brief overview of what it's going to be. End of the founder packs. Basically, after September 7th, crowdfunding is going to end, at least the first part of their crowdfunding, on the crowdfunding page on the community site. They will take it down for a couple months and then revamp it, rework it, and instead of founder packs, it will be supporter packs. Basically, they'll have new rewards and, incentives, basically. They won't have the lifetime subscription anymore. So anyone who wants to get the lifetime subscription, you better do it. You better do it by September 7th. And if you want to update your pledge, you better do it by September 7th. I know Yamauchi, I think I told this to all of you guys separately, but Yamauchi is going to buy Kyrium. I had to laugh when I heard that. And I was like, oh my god. Jesus Christ.
See whether you can persuade him to get all of us.
Hey Yama, if you're watching this, do you mind if you could buy us all Kyrium so we can kind of go over to France and just kind of say hi to JC? Especially since I call him our Lord and Savior whenever I do these dev diary updates. If you could kind of also pay for our flights, since even though we buy the pack to go over there, the flight's not included. Can you pay for our flights to go over there too? Thanks.
We can just take the train.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah, well, we can actually drive over there. So,
yeah. Lord Gaben.
But anyways, so that's basically the whole thing. Also, the bounty system stretch goal will end after September 7th. If they don't reach it by then it just will be in later at the game and won't be at an initial release. I think going to Gamescom is cheaper. Gamescom is the one in Germany, right?
I've got no idea.
I'm pretty sure it is.
Too far to go. Don't know Germany.
I'm pretty sure Gamescom is the one in Germany. PAX is another one, but that's PAX West, I think. Is that PAX West? Pretty sure. PAX West is in Seattle, and I don't want to go over to the West Coast. They're weird over there. Okay, but moving onward. New supporter packs, and what about? They also said that, of course, there will be an Alpha 1 and an Alpha 2. Basically, how they describe Alpha 2, it will be an update of the existing Alpha 1 that will bring new features and fixes. So, you know, why proceed this way? To thank our early backers, oh god. To thank our early backers for saying divs, to help, of course, but also to control the amount of players online. We're building the cluster server progressively. Once we are confident that performance with many players under live conditions is acceptable, then we'll open alpha to players who pledge with the new supporter packs. So that's kind of answers our question. But yeah, that answers our question. Now moving on to the Kickstarter update. They also sent out a newsletter for July. I could go through it, but nah. Basically, talk about the updates to the community site and the forum that happened this week. On Thursday, they updated the community portal and the forum. Of course, now creating an organization is a privilege only reserved to backers of the universe. That was the big thing that came out of this update, at least in my opinion.
Wait, what was only for backers? What?
Creating an organization will only be for backers now.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, because there were a lot of issues with like alt abuse and everything like that.
Yeah, a lot of junk organizations sitting around everywhere.
Yeah.
The Potato Mafia.
Yeah, that's good.
I think it would be kind of nice because then it'll kind of force people, like newer players, to, instead of seeing these like one-man orgs that don't even have a backer as the leader, they'll actually have to start looking for orgs that actually have people who are actually backers, instead of joining one-man orgs that are never going to get anywhere because they don't ever want to back it. So it'll kind of open up a bit more recruiting, I think.
Maybe, yeah. Unfortunately, I think a lot of them will go to like the top 5 organizations, so they'll just get larger and larger, and then we'll just get smaller and smaller.
I think it'll be easier.
We're not gonna get smaller.
See, I think it'll be easier to recruit though once you actually get into the game, because you'll actually be able to start showing stuff instead of just them seeing a 2-man group. They'll see, okay, this might be a 2-man group, but they're also in a good alliance. They have a base set up, and they have some decent ships.
Hey, since all 3 of you guys are non-backers at the moment, just to let you know, Bernard said...
I'm a backer.
Oh, you are? You did back?
Yeah.
Oh,
I did that a while back.
Oh, I didn't know that you did that. Well, since Rocky and Cringey aren't backers yet, Bernard's saying that they should remove the orgs that are made by non-backers right now.
See, I kind of agree with that.
I think they should just remove the ones that are completely useless and aren't active. Yeah. And the thing is, we are active. Our org is still active, and we are going to back.
Maybe say if it has less than 3 people in it, it gets removed if it's made by a non-backer.
Bugger.
So if it has 2 or less people, it should probably be removed if it's made by if it's non-backer created, because then at that point you're getting rid of a lot of the 1- and 2-man orgs out there, because that's the bulk of what the low end stuff is 1- and 2-man orgs.
Everyone's disagreeing with you 3 in the chat. They're like, no, that's not what they should do. Personally, I think that if they would remove the orgs created by non-backers, that would be kind of I think that would kind of cause issues. People would, I think, be very pissed off at them.
Well, but at the same time, I mean, creating an org and not being a backer is kind of misleading, because at that point your org isn't ever going to really be a thing until you back the game. Once you back the game, you know, easily recreate it. But I mean, if you're not backing it and you're already trying to make all these plans and stuff, and you just haven't backed yet, like I get that some people don't have the money right away to back it, but it's still, because it takes up a lot of the players, and it's kind of annoying, because then the groups that are actually trying to get somewhere can't get anywhere, because you do have a large number of the random junk ones that aren't actually having any intention of getting anywhere.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of dead orgs, I'm sure, that are made by one person, people who later decided that they didn't want to back, or they have one or two active players in it, but then the founder is dead and doesn't do anything.
There is one thing. Whilst looking for the org section earlier, I saw Terran Union old, which really does need to be deleted if it's the old one.
Yeah, it's the original one.
The members of it are members of the new one. Mm-hmm. It even has post in there from Darius, who is, I think he is still the leader of TU, isn't
he? He left. He's gone.
Who is the leader now then?
Wait until next stream. I'll go over that. Wait about an hour. I'll go over that. No, Darius is not the leader anymore. But anyways, yes, TU old was, I think, the original TU that was created. When was that created? Hold on. I think that was created before actually my org was created. Look. No, it was not created before. Wait. Yeah, it was actually created before my original organization. We all started ours on the same day. It's kind of crazy to see all the ones that aren't like really active anymore. Like they, kind of just went off into the darkness. But yeah. We'll go over which ones Pango, stop playing Vorian.
No.
It's interesting. The Terran Union created their first org on the 8th of July of last year, and then they created the actual Terran Union on the 10th. So it was kind of crazy of how quick of a move it was. Anyways, but yeah, that's the whole thing. Anything else to add on anything that we talked about today before I end the stream and we take a little bit of a break until we start the next one?
No, I think we've covered everything that's not Judge Glory related.
No, very true. Okay, well then in that case, I will switch it to our professional background until I end it. Thank you everyone for watching. Keep in mind, we will be back in about 45 minutes to basically talk more about politics. That will be all political discussion. We're going to go over a lot of things that happened this week. So stay tuned for that. Yeah. Pengo's, Cringey's. I'm not done. Come on, you should know this by now. How many times have we been doing this? It's been like 7 times we've been doing this now.
Yeah, but I want to be annoying.
Well, don't worry, Stealth Dino. We're gonna be back. We're gonna be back in about 45 minutes talking about politics, and that's the more interesting one. But anyways, Pengo's Crocky. Yes, Crocky. Cringey's and Rocky's links to all their stuff is in the description. All the stuff that we talked about, again, in the description with links. Make sure you follow us on all social media. Make sure you like and subscribe. Really helps get our content out there. And yeah, we'll see you in about 45 minutes, guys. Bye.